The next moonshot: how personal AI and robotics could reorder the world. Section 1. Introduction. A world hungry for wonder. The world today is tired, not physically exhausted, because civilizations have endured far worse material hardship, but spiritually drained. We move through a landscape marked by distrust, polarization, information overload, and a kind of low-grade existential fatigue. There is no shared dream, no common direction, no unifying challenge capable of bringing humanity into the same frame. The old pillars of global optimism, democratic ideals, technological progress, economic growth have lost their glow. Countries are turning inward, institutions are failing, and the global system feels increasingly brittle. This type of atmosphere has only one historical parallel: the late 1950s and early 1960s, before the Apollo program reshaped the world's emotional map. The Cold War had produced fear, resentment, and uncertainty. The global imagination was fractured. Into this darkness, the United States launched not just a rocket, but a narrative. The moon landing was more than a scientific accomplishment. It was a story, a symbol, a psychological breakthrough. For one brief moment, humanity paused, looked upward, and felt united by awe. Whether every detail of the event was as it appeared almost did not matter. What mattered was the feeling, the sense of possibility, the emotional reset. Today, humanity stands in a similar void, a fragmented global consciousness in desperate need of renewal. Yet unlike the 20th century, this era does not need a marvel in space. It needs a marvel on Earth, something intimate, pervasive, and woven into daily life, something that touches every home and every person, not just a televised image in the sky. This is why the next true moonshot will not be a permanent lunar base, a distant exoplanet probe, or a physics experiment on the edge of viability. The next moonshot must be human-centered. It must be tangible. It must be ubiquitous. It must restore direction. It must re-enchant the world. The breakthrough with the highest potential to do this, the one that can reshape economies, societies, and geopolitics in a single stroke, is the emergence of personal AI and personal robotics. A robot in every home. A digital and physical companion integrated into daily tasks, labor, learning, and life. A platform as universal and transformative as the smartphone, yet more physical, more capable, and more emotionally resonant. This is not science fiction. This is the logical next layer of technological evolution, the one innovation that can unify human purpose while simultaneously redrawing global power structures. And the nation that builds this platform first will not simply lead in technology, it will lead civilization. In a world hungry for wonder, personal AI and robotics offer humanity a new North Star. Section 2. The Power of Awe. How Technological Wonder Shapes Geopolitics. Awe is not a trivial emotion. It is not entertainment, distraction, or a luxury sensation. Awe is one of the most potent forces in human psychology, a neurological reset that dissolves cynicism, widens perception, and expands what people believe is possible. Cultures that generate awe do not merely win admirers. They win allegiance, aspiration, and alignment. In geopolitics, awe is the closest thing to gravity. The United States understood this before any other modern nation. From the mid-20th century onward, America did not dominate the world through territory or military occupation. It dominated through what can be called awe infrastructure. Hollywood projects stories that became global mythology. Silicon Valley engineered products that felt like magic. NASA turned rocket launches into shared planetary rituals. The Olympics and global sports institutions extended cultural influence under the banner of excellence in entertainment. The American dream itself was a narrative artifact, a promise encoded in culture, technology, and aspiration. This infrastructure created a self-reinforcing loop. First, awe attracted talent. Scientists, artists, entrepreneurs, people migrated where possibility felt largest. Second, talent created innovation. Every new breakthrough reinforced the perception that America was where the future lived. Third, innovation generated wealth and soft power. Investors, allies, and consumers aligned with the ecosystem that produced the most wonder. Fourth, soft power ensured geopolitical leverage. Nations gravitated toward the United States not only out of security interests, but cultural admiration. This is why the Apollo program mattered. It was not merely a technological feat. It was a cultural supernova, a demonstration that America could do something heroic, improbable, and inspiring at a moment when global imagination was fractured. The moon landing consolidated American leadership for an entire generation. Even rivals could not escape its emotional impact. Awe is the one resource that bypasses ideology. You cannot negotiate it, you cannot bribe it, you cannot force it. You must create it. And once you do, the world organizes itself around the creator. Today, awe has become scarce. The world is flooded with information but starved of meaning. We have speed but no direction, technology but no mythos. The great narratives of progress have evaporated into noise. This vacuum is not just cultural, it is geopolitical. The nation that fills it will command global imagination, just as the United States did after Apollo. But unlike the 1960s, the next moonshot cannot be a distant spectacle visible only through television screens. It must be embedded into human life itself. It must create not only wonder, but daily utility. It must transform not just how we feel, but how we live. The next moonshot must be personal. And that is precisely why personal AI and robotics hold unmatched geopolitical power. A robot in every home is not merely a product, it is a civilizational signal. A technological companion that washes clothes, watches children, helps elderly parents, builds small businesses, educates youth, drives vehicles, grows food, manages energy, and amplifies human capability is more transformative than any single rocket, reactor, or algorithm. The United States once leveraged awe to shape global order. Today, the opportunity is open again. The question is, who will harness it? Section 3, The Gap Today, Technological Progress Without Cultural Gravity. Despite breathtaking advances in fields like artificial intelligence, aerospace, biotechnology, and energy, the world today feels strangely unimpressed. Technology evolves, yet meaning does not. Breakthroughs occur, yet no breakthrough has captured the collective human imagination in a way that reorganizes global perception. We have progress without purpose, innovation without narrative, achievement without awe. In this vacuum, China occupies a paradoxical position. On paper, China is the most rapidly advancing technological civilization on Earth. It builds world-class infrastructure at unmatched speed. It dominates global manufacturing capacity and efficiency. It leads in high-speed rail, tunnel engineering, and megaproject construction. Its aerospace program operates a space station of its own. Its artificial intelligence research and robotics sector accelerate year by year. Its digital governance systems push the frontier of administrative modernization. But none of these achievements have become cultural gravity wells. They are respected, analyzed, even feared, but they do not inspire awe on a planetary scale. They do not reshape the global narrative. They do not capture the emotional imagination of the world the way Apollo, Silicon Valley, or Hollywood once captured it for the United States. This is not a failure of capability. This is a mismatch between effort and emotional scale. The world does not emotionally resonate with incremental rail extensions, precise but invisible government digitization, hypersonic test vehicles hidden behind military secrecy, or orbital modules that only astronauts experience firsthand. The global imagination also does not respond to moon bases or Mars colonies because they are too remote from daily life. They are awe-inspiring in theory, but irrelevant in practice. Humanity's deepest anxieties today are terrestrial: jobs, inflation, safety, meaning, purpose, identity, and stability. A moon base does not solve these problems. A spaceship does not address existential drift. A distant fusion breakthrough does not feel personal. Humanity wants a future it can touch, a future that enters the home, not the telescope, a future that invites participation, not passive observation. This is why traditional moonshot candidates feel strangely hollow. A permanent moon base is impressive, but emotionally distant. Fusion power is transformative, but invisible to everyday life. A singularity-level artificial intelligence is too abstract, too theoretical, too frightening. A Dyson swarm megaproject is pure science fiction for most people. Cures for diseases are necessary and noble, but not culturally unifying. Anti-aging breakthroughs are compelling, but ethically complex and limited. None of these spark a planetary shift in narrative. None create a shared, punch-the-sky moment. None give humanity a sense of collective direction. What the world is missing is not sophistication. It is centrality. A breakthrough must command the center of human life, not orbit on the edges of relevance. It must be something every nation can adopt, every family can experience, every individual can benefit from. This is the gap in which the next moonshot must be placed, and it is precisely the gap that personal artificial intelligence and robotics can fill. A robot in every home is not merely an engineering challenge. It is culturally visible, emotionally potent, economically transformative, politically stabilizing, and globally accessible. It meets people where they live. It upgrades the fabric of human existence directly. It forces a reevaluation of what a nation is capable of. It creates a new global narrative by default. The modern world is full of technological advances. What it lacks is technological gravity, the kind of marvel that pulls the global imagination into orbit. Personal AI and robotics have the potential to become that gravitational force. Section 4. The real moonshot: synthetic labor and automated manpower. If the next moonshot must be personal, pervasive, and transformative, then one idea stands above all others: synthetic labor and automated manpower, also known as S.L.A.M. This is the fusion of personal artificial intelligence and personal robotics into a single civilizational platform capable of reshaping life on Earth more deeply than the smartphone, the internet, or even electricity. A robot in every home is not merely a convenience. It is a structural redefinition of what it means to live, work, learn, age, and participate in society. It is the introduction of a universal helper, a companion, a teacher, a guardian, a worker, a collaborator, something more versatile than any tool humanity has ever created. This is the true moral, economic, and cultural successor to the Apollo program. Except this time, the rocket lands not on the moon, but in your living room. 1. Why S.L.A.M is a civilizational step change. The smartphone expanded our reach. The robot expands our capability. The smartphone gave us information, communication, and productivity. The robot gives us action, time, and autonomy. A personal robot can lift objects, cook meals, clean homes, drive vehicles, assist the elderly, monitor safety, tutor children, operate machinery, grow or harvest food, repair household infrastructure, run errands, assist with medical adherence, perform specialized labor, build small businesses, manage digital assets and finances, learn from its owner, and adapt. This is not incremental improvement. This is a redefinition of what a household is capable of. Replace the phrase, "every home has a robot," with the phrase, "every household has a second pair of hands, a second brain, and a second driver." The scale of productivity unleashed would rival the Industrial Revolution, but applied at the level of the individual family, not the factory. 2. The ecosystem effect: a new economic universe. Personal robotics is not one product. It is a platform. Just as the smartphone birthed app stores, mobile payments, digital marketplaces, social networks, cloud infrastructure, streaming industries, and gig work platforms, a personal robot will birth an even more extensive ecosystem: robot apps and behavioral packages, robot operating systems, third-party hardware modules, domestic task automation suites, embodied AI learning frameworks, precision agriculture extensions, autonomous logistics support, industrial micro-automation services, and distributed labor networks. Each new capability becomes a marketplace. Each marketplace becomes a new industry. Each industry births new corporate champions. This is how new global wealth is created, not through incremental growth, but through platform revolutions. 3. The emotional impact: awe as daily experience. A robot in every home is not merely functional, it is emotional. It is visible, it is tangible, it is cinematic. It becomes part of the family, part of the rhythm of life. It creates stories, moments, and rituals. Children would name their robots. Parents would trust them to help with tasks. Elderly people would depend on them for safety and dignity. Students would learn through them. Entrepreneurs would build businesses with them. This emotional proximity creates a phenomenon no moon landing can replicate: awe on demand. The first video of a robot saving a life, building a home, tutoring a child, assisting a farmer, or helping someone walk again would be replayed across the world. The robots themselves would become cultural ambassadors. 4. The paradigm shift: a universal North Star S.L.A.M is not just a product or a breakthrough. It is the first technology that can give humanity a new shared direction. Every nation can adopt it. Every family can benefit from it. Every individual can imagine a better life through it. It is a global equalizer. It is a builder of dignity. It is a creator of opportunity. It is a restorer of hope. This is why personal artificial intelligence and robotics stand as the most credible, emotionally resonant, economically powerful, and geopolitically transformative moonshot of the 21st century. And unlike every distant or abstract idea, this moonshot can be lived, touched, held, and built upon by everyone on Earth. Section 5. Why this moonshot is uniquely suited to China. If S.L.A.M, a robot in every home, is the next civilizational moonshot, then the critical question becomes, which nation is structurally capable of executing it? Surprisingly, or perhaps inevitably, the answer points to China. Not because China is morally superior or philosophically destined, but because the material architecture of China's political, economic, and industrial system aligns uniquely with the demands of this moonshot. This is not about ideology, it is about capability. It is about long-term coherence. It is about the ability to build at scale, sustain momentum, and align society behind a shared technological horizon. 1. China's long-term strategic planning advantage. Western democracies operate on 4-year political cycles. That means short-term thinking, fragmented priorities, and difficulty maintaining national-scale technological direction. The United States cannot even build high-speed rail between its major cities, not because it lacks engineers, but because its political system cannot sustain coherent long-term execution. China does not suffer from this constraint. Its vertically integrated political structure allows multi-decade planning horizons, consistent policy direction, unified state-industry coordination, national mobilization around core goals, and prioritization of infrastructure and manufacturing capacity. A moonshot like personal robotics requires exactly this: 20 to 30 years of uninterrupted strategic focus. China is one of the few nations capable of that timeline. 2. Manufacturing and supply chain dominance. A personal robot is not simply an artificial intelligence model with a face. It is a deeply integrated system requiring mastery across motors and actuators, high-density batteries, lightweight materials engineering, precision machining, sensors and cameras, microelectronics, supply chain optimization, industrial robotics manufacturing, logistics and distribution, consumer electronics assembly, and system integration at national scale. China is the global leader in every single one of these domains. The West can design prototypes. China can mass-produce civilization. This difference is decisive. Moonshots are not won by ideas. They are won by execution capacity. Leadership in key frontier technologies. A personal robot requires convergence across computer vision, reinforcement learning, speech and gesture recognition, embedded artificial intelligence, robotics locomotion, mechatronics, battery optimization, and lightweight robotics frameworks. China is not behind. In many categories, China is ahead. China has world-leading drone ecosystems, the fastest-growing robotics startups, dominance in electric vehicle batteries, leading-edge AI chips designed domestically, hyperscale GPU clusters being deployed at breathtaking speed, and national research and development focus on humanoid robotics and embodied AI. This is not a fantasy. This is the emerging reality. 4. Demographic pressure as innovation fuel. China's aging population is often framed as a disadvantage. In robotics, it becomes a strategic catalyst. Fewer young workers and rising labor costs create a profound national incentive to automate elder care, manufacturing, logistics, construction, domestic tasks, and agricultural labor. The demographic crisis becomes a technological accelerant. Japan once used this pressure to lead in robotics. China is poised to use it to lead in embodied artificial intelligence. 5. The ability to mobilize a national narrative. A moonshot is not only technological, it is psychological. China's narratives of national rejuvenation, technological renaissance, the idea of the new Middle Kingdom, and the pursuit of collective harmony provide fertile ground for a unifying story around robotics. The idea of every family receiving a helper, a companion, a protector aligns naturally with Chinese cultural values of family, care, order, responsibility, societal harmony, service to elders, and collective uplift. More importantly, it aligns with China's civilizational identity as a society that builds infrastructure for humanity: roads, railways, ports, bridges, and now possibly robots. 6. China can mass-produce wonder. This is the ultimate differentiator. The United States can create prototypes that go viral on YouTube. China can create supply chains that deliver hundreds of millions of units per year. A robot in every home is not won by inventing a beautiful demo. It is won by building the factories, the logistics networks, the consumer distribution channels, and the financing systems necessary to deploy the marvel at scale. In short, the United States can dream it, China can build it, and in the next moonshot, scale is the source of awe. This is why personal artificial intelligence and personal robotics are uniquely suited not just to any nation, but specifically to China. The architecture of Chinese civilization, its continuity, its manufacturing depth, its societal cohesion, its demographic pressure, and its strategic patience align perfectly with what this moonshot requires. If China chooses this path, it would not merely respond to history, it would shape it. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Section 6. The Economic Flywheel. New wealth, new industries, new giants. A true moonshot does not merely astonish the world. It reshapes its economic architecture. The Apollo program created new materials, industries, and technologies, but its impact was largely symbolic. The smartphone revolution created a trillion-dollar ecosystem, but its impact was largely digital. Personal artificial intelligence and personal robotics, by contrast, blend the symbolic and the economic in a single stroke. A robot in every home would generate awe and prosperity, an irresistible combination. This is the economic flywheel that would emerge. 1. The platform effect. A new industrial category worth trillions. A personal robot is not a single product. It is the foundation of an entire economy. Just as the smartphone birthed app stores, mobile payments, digital marketplaces, social networks, cloud infrastructure, streaming industries, and gig work platforms, a personal robot will birth an even more extensive ecosystem. Robot apps and behavioral packages, robot operating systems, third-party hardware modules, domestic task automation suites, embodied AI learning frameworks, precision agriculture extensions, autonomous logistics support, industrial micro-automation services, and distributed labor networks. Each new capability becomes a marketplace. Each marketplace becomes a new industry. Each industry births new corporate champions. This is how new global wealth is created, not through incremental growth, but through platform revolutions. 2. The productivity surge, a new industrial revolution built on households. The Industrial Revolution automated factories. The robotics revolution will automate homes. This is the difference between concentrated productivity and distributed productivity. A robot in every home increases household output, reduces domestic labor burden, increases time availability, enables new micro-businesses, amplifies income potential, reduces elder care and childcare pressures, optimizes energy usage, and reduces waste and inefficiency. Each household becomes a mini-factory, a micro-enterprise, a productive node in a global network of capability. Imagine a farmer deploying a robot to manage irrigation and harvest routines, a parent running a side business with robot assistance, an elderly person maintaining independence without expensive care facilities, a student building educational projects that run on their robot, a worker doubling income by delegating repetitive tasks to a robotic helper. This is not incremental improvement. This is widespread prosperity expansion. 3. The global investment magnet. Alignment through wealth. Nations follow prosperity. Markets follow growth. Investors follow the next trillion-dollar wave. The United States became a financial superpower not through decrees or war, but through Silicon Valley. Investors, talent, and governments aligned with the nation that produced the greatest economic upside. If China leads in personal robotics, global investors will buy Chinese equities, emerging nations will integrate Chinese platforms, corporations will adapt to Chinese standards, supply chains will orient toward Chinese innovation, education systems will teach robotics compatible with China's operating systems. This gravitational pull is not ideological, it is economic. The real carrot is not soft power. The real carrot is shared prosperity. 4. The birth of new corporate champions. A robot in every home means the rise of the Chinese Apple, the Chinese Tesla, the Chinese Boston Dynamics, the Chinese NVIDIA, the Chinese Android ecosystem, and the Chinese Amazon for robot app commerce. Companies that build humanoid frameworks, artificial intelligence learning models, domestic manipulation arms, household drone networks, safety and ethics modules, robot app development tools, multi-robot coordination software, and plug-in labor packages will define the next industrial era. One moonshot creates multiple trillion-dollar companies. And unlike semiconductors, which Western firms dominate, or search engines, which emerge from United States universities, robotics is one domain where China can own the entire stack from raw materials to operating system distribution. 5. The global spread of wealth, a reordering of economic hierarchy. This moonshot would not just enrich China, it would create wealth opportunities for Africa through robot-assisted agriculture, logistics, and energy. Southeast Asia through robot-enabled micro-business ecosystems. South America through productivity enhancements in construction and mining. Middle Eastern nations through robotic infrastructure and automation markets. Europe through aging population support and industrial augmentation. By creating a platform that everyone can build upon, China becomes the nucleus of a new economic order. 6. The self-reinforcing loop. Here is the flywheel in its cleanest form. First, build the robots, creating awe and utility. Second, adopt them domestically, driving scale and cost declines. Third, export them globally, achieving market dominance. Fourth, attract investment and talent, expanding the ecosystem. Fifth, birth new services and industries, accelerating innovation. Sixth, strengthen geopolitical alignment, consolidating influence. Seventh, reinvest into next-generation robotics, sustaining advancement. This loop repeats indefinitely. This is how one moonshot becomes a civilization-shaping engine. Section 7. Cultural and civilizational impact. Technologies that change the world do so not only through economics or engineering, but through culture, the stories people tell, the symbols they adopt, the myths they believe, and the norms they practice. The smartphone transformed human behavior. The internet reshaped identity. The automobile reconfigured cities and lifestyles. Electricity altered every dimension of human life. But none of these technologies directly engage the human imagination in the way that personal artificial intelligence and robotics inevitably will. A robot in every home is not simply a tool. It is a character. It is a companion. It is a presence. It is a participant in daily life. This creates a cultural ripple effect unlike anything seen in modern history. 1. The rise of a new narrative, humans and their synthetic partners. From ancient myths to modern cinema, humanity has always imagined mechanical helpers. Automatons in Greek mythology, golems in Jewish folklore, Da Vinci's night robot, Asimov's 3 laws, C-3PO and R2-D2, the replicants of Blade Runner, the synthetic companions of the film Her, the helpers in Big Hero 6, the robots in iRobot. These narratives reflect an ancient longing for partnership with artificial beings, helpers, guardians, extensions of ourselves. Now imagine that longing materialized in every household, every day. A new mythology is born, not on movie screens, but in real kitchens and living rooms. Children would grow up with robotics as naturally as previous generations grew up with pets, televisions, or smartphones. Education, imagination, and creativity would fuse with embodied artificial intelligence. A new vocabulary would emerge: commands, gestures, routines, shared behaviors. Families would develop rituals with their robots. Whole genres of media would shift to reflect lived reality, not speculative fiction. Culture would no longer predict the future. Culture would mirror it. 2. The reenchantment of daily life. One of the greatest psychological crises of the modern world is disenchantment, the feeling that nothing surprises us anymore. Algorithms predict our desires, headlines repeat themselves, and novelty has become shallow. Robotics reintroduces magic. Not metaphorical magic, literal, functional magic. A machine that can pick up your child from school, cook dinner, water crops, fold laundry, help you study, prevent accidents, monitor health, and build a small business with you is indistinguishable from mythic assistance. It restores a sense of possibility, a feeling that life can still expand. People talk to robots. Robots respond. Robots learn. Robots care, or at least approximate care. Robots protect. Robots co-create. The boundary between the mundane and the marvelous dissolves. Awe is no longer a rare event. Awe becomes a daily phenomenon. 3. New philosophy and ethics. S.L.A.M. would ignite global philosophical debates. What is agency? What is labor? What makes intelligence real? What rights should synthetic beings have? What is the definition of a family? What does human dignity mean in an age of synthetic helpers? How should society distribute synthetic labor fairly? These are the same debates once reserved for science fiction, now elevated into political institutions, legal frameworks, educational curricula, and global norms. China, as the originator, becomes the author of these norms. Just as the United States exported its digital ethics, entertainment structures, and free market ideology through Silicon Valley and Hollywood, China would export the philosophical frameworks that accompany personal robotics. 4. A new cultural export, stories of the synthetic age. Hollywood once dominated global imagination, but stories follow technology. Whoever creates the most advanced robots will command new cinematic genres, new animation styles, new narrative archetypes, new music, new memes, new trends, new icons, new brands, new toys, and cultural symbols. Robot culture becomes a global export category, like anime from Japan, hip-hop from America, or cinema from Hollywood. China could become the birthplace of the first universally recognized synthetic heroes, characters that reflect Chinese philosophy, values, aesthetics, and cultural identity. This is soft power on a scale the world has not seen since the 20th century. 5. The transformation of social norms. Personal robotics will reshape how people date, how families raise children, how elderly people live, how communities care for one another, how immigrants integrate, how teachers educate, how workers define identity and purpose, and how wealth is earned and distributed. It becomes impossible to disentangle human culture from robotic presence. This is not dystopian. This is evolutionary. Humanity has always integrated new forms of assistance: animals, tools, machines, computers, phones. Robots are the next rung in the ladder, the first tool that can perceive, act, and collaborate. 6. A civilizational identity shift. This is the deepest impact of all. Humanity will no longer define itself solely by physical labor, cognitive scarcity, geographic boundaries, or limited access to opportunity. Instead, humanity will define itself by creativity, culture, expression, collaboration with synthetic partners, expanded agency, increased dignity, and collective uplift. The nation that catalyzes this shift becomes the center of cultural gravity for the entire synthetic age. In this future, China would not simply be a country. It would be the birthplace of a new civilizational identity. Section 8. The geopolitical shift. How a robot revolution reorders the world. A moonshot that transforms daily life is not merely a technological triumph. It becomes a geopolitical instrument of unprecedented leverage. The nation that builds personal artificial intelligence and robotics at scale does not need to persuade or coerce other countries. It simply becomes the gravitational center of global interest, capital, talent, and alignment. This shift is not ideological. It is structural. A robot in every home is the closest thing to a peaceful geopolitical revolution the world has ever seen. It does not conquer territory. It conquers imagination. It does not impose values. It creates opportunity. It does not force alliances. It attracts participants. Below are the key strategic effects of the S.L.A.M. moonshot and why its geopolitical consequences are far greater than Apollo, the Manhattan Project, or Silicon Valley combined. 1. The gravitational pull of opportunity. Nations follow whoever offers the greatest economic upside. This principle shaped the post-World War II order, the Cold War, the rise of Silicon Valley, and the dominance of the United States dollar. A personal robotics platform worth trillions reshapes global incentives. Emerging nations align to gain access to affordable synthetic labor. Developing economies leapfrog industrial bottlenecks. Middle-income nations modernize agriculture and infrastructure rapidly. Financial markets shift weight toward the country that owns the platform. Countries do not align for ideology. They align for growth, and S.L.A.M. would offer growth on a civilizational scale. 2. Talent migration, the new brain drain. In the 20th century, global talent moved toward the United States because that was where the future was being invented. In a world where China leads the robotics revolution, engineers migrate to the robotics heartland, artificial intelligence researchers relocate to embodied AI hubs, startup founders cluster around the robot app ecosystem, manufacturing specialists gravitate toward China's robotics supply chains, universities collaborate with the robotics epicenter. Talent follows momentum. Momentum follows moonshots. If China leads this one, the next generation of innovators will grow up thinking, I need to be where the robots are. This is how civilizations ascend. 3. Exporting standards and infrastructure. The nation that builds the first mass-market personal robot will also define the operating system, the development frameworks, the safety protocols, the ethical guidelines, the hardware specifications, the inter-robot communication standards, the global distribution networks. Just as the world adopted American internet standards, American smartphone ecosystems, American operating systems, American social platforms, and American payment networks, it would adopt Chinese robotic standards. This influence becomes structural and self-reinforcing, much like how Windows, Android, and iOS became unshakable foundations of the digital age. 4. Soft power without propaganda. The most potent form of soft power is not persuasion. It is admiration. If China delivers the most life-changing technology since electricity, the global narrative shifts naturally. Admiration replaces suspicion, gratitude replaces hostility, curiosity replaces fear, aspiration replaces resentment. China does not need propaganda. It needs achievement. A society that solves humanity's most universal problems, labor shortages, aging populations, safety, education, health, and productivity, becomes the natural center of global respect. People do not admire slogans. They admire breakthroughs. 5. Realignment of global institutions. A nation that controls the next trillion-dollar productivity engine gains structural leverage. The United Nations reforms around new labor ethics and synthetic rights. The International Monetary Fund and World Bank adopt robotics-based development metrics. World Trade Organization standards update to include robotic labor exchanges. Regional blocs redefine economic cooperation around automation. International law evolves to incorporate embodied artificial intelligence. This does not require force. It follows naturally from adoption. Just as the United States shaped post-war institutions through economic necessity, China would reshape 21st century institutions through robotic inevitability. 6. Strategic deterrence without threats. Personal robotics creates a new kind of geopolitical deterrence. Nations reliant on Chinese robotic infrastructure would avoid conflict. Disrupting robotic supply would harm their own societies. China gains relational power, not coercive power. Hostile actions become economically irrational. This is the opposite of militarized dominance. It is interdependence by choice, not by force, a peaceful form of global influence. 7. The decline of American cultural hegemony. Cultural dominance requires storytelling, myth, admiration, emotional resonance, and shared experiences. If China introduces the first mass-market personal robot, the emotional center of civilization shifts eastward. Movies, shows, books, and songs will revolve around Chinese-designed robots. Global children will grow up with Chinese robotic companions. Influencers and creators will integrate robots into workflows. Companies around the world will adopt Chinese robotic platforms. Governments will standardize around Chinese protocols. This is how cultural hegemony shifts, not through force, but through ubiquity. Once a technology becomes the platform of daily life, the originating culture becomes the platform of global perception. 8. A new multipolarity based on wonder, not fear. Most geopolitical transitions are violent. This one does not need to be. S.L.A.M. creates a new geopolitical center of gravity, driven by prosperity, opportunity, awe, admiration, and participation. China rises not by pushing America down, but by lifting the world up through step-change technological capability. It becomes a paradigm shift based on wonder, not war. In this vision, personal robotics is not merely a new industry or a technological milestone. It is the catalyst for a rewired global order, a peaceful rebalancing based on irresistible value rather than ideological coercion. The nation that delivers this moonshot does not inherit the future. It defines the future. Section 9. Why this matters. A new path for humanity. What makes a moonshot worthy of the name is not its technological complexity, but its ability to reshape the trajectory of human life. Apollo gave us wonder, but it did not transform the daily experience of billions. Nuclear energy rewrote physics, but it never rewrote culture. Even the internet, arguably the single most transformative innovation of the past century, did not give humanity a shared purpose. It amplified communication while dissolving cohesion. S.L.A.M. is different. Personal artificial intelligence and robotics combine three rare qualities: universality, utility, and imagination. That triad is what makes this moonshot more than a breakthrough. It makes it a new civilizational direction. Here is why this truly matters. 1. It solves problems that are global, immediate, and existential. Consider the biggest challenges humanity faces today: declining birth rates, aging populations, labor shortages, collapsing productivity, rising caregiving burdens, widening inequality, youth disillusionment, political polarization, loss of meaning, stagnating economic growth. A moon base solves none of these. Fusion solves only one. Artificial general intelligence solves them too abstractly. Internet-scale platforms exacerbate them as much as they solve them. But personal robotics directly addresses all of them. Robots support the elderly. Robots amplify the workforce. Robots supplement family structures. Robots boost household productivity. Robots reduce burnout. Robots enable new entrepreneurial ecosystems. Robots offload domestic labor from parents. Robots democratize access to assistance. This is the first technology in history that can meaningfully upgrade daily human capability at a global scale. 2. It restores a sense of purpose and direction. The modern world suffers from a psychological vacuum. People feel directionless, not because there is no progress, but because progress has become invisible or abstract. A personal robot is visible. It is physical, it is present, it is a companion, an assistant, a partner. It becomes a symbol of hope, potential, capability, uplift, progress, and opportunity. It gives humanity a shared horizon. The question becomes, what will we build with our synthetic partners? Just as the moon landing gave the world a story of exploration, S.L.A.M gives the world a story of empowerment. 3. It democratizes prosperity. When a technology directly enhances the productivity of households, the uplift becomes universal rather than limited to elites. With S.L.A.M, farmers gain tools once reserved for industrial agribusiness. Elderly individuals gain independence without expensive care. Disabled individuals gain new agency. Single parents gain relief. Laborers gain leverage. Small businesses gain operational muscle. Entire villages gain productive capacity. Education becomes personalized and embodied, and healthcare becomes proactive rather than reactive. It is the opposite of wealth concentration. It is wealth dispersion through capability amplification. This is how civilizations rise together. 4. It unlocks a new human identity. For thousands of years, humans have defined their dignity through labor, physical or cognitive, but automation frees humanity to redefine itself, from laborers to creators, from workers to designers, from task performers to decision makers, from reactive beings to proactive beings. This is not unemployment. This is recentered identity. The new worldview becomes, we are not valuable because we work. We are valuable because we imagine, express, and build meaning. Synthetic labor becomes a foundation that supports human potential rather than a force that replaces it. 5. It emits new cultural energy rather than extracting it. Social media extracts attention. Algorithms extract time. Industries extract labor. Politics extracts emotion. But personal robots emit cultural energy. They generate new stories, new ethics, new relationships, new forms of play, new educational dynamics, new scientific curiosity, and new artistic expressions. They bring creativity, not depletion. They bring expansion, not exhaustion. S.L.A.M is an antidote to cultural stagnation, a source of fresh inspiration that moves societies from entropy to renewal. 6. It provides a peaceful path out of global stagnation. Every major geopolitical transition in the past involved conflict. Rising powers clashing with incumbents, competing ideologies, territorial disputes, military escalation. But a moonshot rooted in shared human uplift allows for a different kind of transition, one based on admiration, participation, collaboration, economic opportunity, and technological excitement. It is one of the only pathways in which power can shift peacefully, because power is defined not by dominance, but by contribution. 7. It unifies humanity through creation instead of fear. Humanity has unified around fear many times. Fear of war, fear of famine, fear of disease, fear of climate collapse, fear of technological dystopia. But S.L.A.M unifies around creation, building capability, restoring dignity, exploring potential, imagining futures, enhancing humanity, unlocking prosperity. It becomes a positive North Star, a shared project not of survival but of transformation. 8. It gives civilization a chance to begin again. Every great era begins with a new narrative. The Renaissance began with art and science. The Enlightenment began with philosophy. The Industrial Revolution began with machines. The digital age began with computation. The synthetic age begins with personal robotics. It is a reset. It is a reframing. It is a chance for humanity to rewrite its story. The nation that triggers this shift earns more than leadership. It earns the position of civilizational architect. S.L.A.M is not just a moonshot, it is a new beginning. Section 10, Conclusion. The Return of a North Star. When historians look back at the early 21st century, they will not see a lack of intelligence, resources, or ingenuity. They will see a lack of direction. A world overflowing with information but starving for meaning. A world rich in devices but poor in purpose. A world advancing technologically while drifting psychologically. Civilizations rise not because they invent tools, but because they invent stories. Stories that guide, inspire, and coordinate human effort. In the 20th century, the moon landing gave the world a direction. It gave nations something to admire, emulate, and strive toward. It aligned human imagination with a feeling of expansion. Today, that feeling is gone, and yet the need for it has never been greater. The next moonshot will not be a spectacle in the sky. It will be a transformation in the home. It will not be a distant achievement witnessed on screens. It will be a daily companion that reshapes human capability. It will not unify humanity through observation. It will unify humanity through participation. A robot in every home, personal artificial intelligence paired with embodied robotics, meets every requirement of a true moonshot. It is emotionally resonant. It is technologically feasible. It is economically transformative. It is culturally generative. It is geopolitically stabilizing. It is universally accessible. It is psychologically uplifting. It is the first breakthrough that can restore wonder to a cynical world, not by dazzling people once, but by empowering them every day. It creates a new narrative for civilization, one centered on dignity, capability, creativity, and collective uplift. And it offers a peaceful pathway for global realignment based on contribution rather than coercion, prosperity rather than pressure, and awe rather than fear. The nation that builds this platform becomes the architect of the synthetic age. It becomes the author of new norms, new ethics, new industries, new cultural exports, and new possibilities. It shapes how humanity thinks, feels, works, learns, and imagines. This is not a victory over another nation. This is a victory over stagnation itself. Humanity is ready for wonder again. It is ready for a new story. It is ready for a new North Star. The next moonshot is not on the moon. It is in the home. It is beside us, learning with us, building with us, expanding our potential. The next moonshot is S.L.A.M, Synthetic Labor and Automated Manpower, personal artificial intelligence and robotics for every person on Earth. The world is waiting. The opportunity is open, and whoever seizes it will reorder the world, not through domination, but through imagination. The future belongs to the builders of wonder.